All right, Raider Nation, let's talk about the quarterback situation going into the 2025 NFL season and the potentials of some free agents as well as the draft. Today is all about quarterbacks. Let's get into it, Raider Nation. But first, I do just want to thank today's sponsor, and that is Vtoman, the solar power company that is lighting things up. And it is definitely lighting up our cabin here. We are using their solar right now to run our tiny cabin out here on the Raider Ranch. And so I just want to send out a big thanks to Vtoman for sponsoring this video. Now, guys, if you need some solar, you want some solar backup, you need some solar power out there on the job site, or whether or not you're out there camping, they have a few different options. All of them are very affordable. So please go and check them out right now. The link is down in the description. Let's get into today's video. First of all, I want to talk about a few of the free agents, and then we'll get into the draft. Now, according to some people that I speak to with the Raiders, the number one free agent right now on their scouting report that is coming out with the new coaching staff. Now, we don't have an offensive coordinator yet, but as far as Pete Carroll apparently is directed the scouting staff, is to take a very deep dive into a couple of free agents, and number one being Sam Darnold. Now, I said it last year that the Raiders should have went out and got Sam Darnold. He would have been super cheap, and he would have been a better comparison and a better competition for Aiden O'Connell than Gardner Minshew, and he would have been a lot cheaper, and we didn't do that. We also didn't go get Russell Wilson, which I think we should have done last year, just to slap the Broncos in the face and make them pay our starting quarterback to beat them, but instead we went with Gardner Minshew, paid him an awful lot of money, and we lost to the Broncos both times. So this year, hopefully we don't make that mistake. Now, let's talk about Sam Darnold and what he is and what he is not as a quarterback. Number one, he was a first-round draft pick, very highly touted coming out of the draft. And, you know, the Jets basically ruined him, kicked him to the side, and he kind of bounced around with the 49ers as a backup guy, and then he lands with the Minnesota Vikings. Now, he was not expected to start a single game last year, but because their draft pick, J.J. McCarthy, ruined his leg before the season started, he basically got the de facto starting position. And sorry for the background noise. Those are my two Cougars who are fighting right now. But Sam Darnold actually rejuvenated his career. He took it to a whole nother level, throwing over 4,300 yards and 35 touchdowns to 12 interceptions. Best year of his career. And had he played better in his last game of the season, as well as his playoff game, this dude would have been a $250 million quarterback. But because he kind of dropped the ball quite a bit in his last game of the season, which, you know, cost them a higher seat in the playoffs, and then losing in the playoffs and getting sacked like 7 or 8 times, his stock has dropped down to about $100 million over a 3-year deal. So we're looking at, you know, over $30 million a year for this guy versus paying over $55 million for him if he would have won those games. Is still a good value for a guy like that. He could be an instant starter. And listen, a guy who's going to get you 35 touchdowns and 4,500 yards, if he can continue that with the Raiders and what we have available here, we're definitely going to be making the playoffs. What is not known about him is he's only had one good season, and that was with the Vikings, and they have a really good team. Can he replicate that with the Raiders and Pete Carroll and what we're going to do in the draft and the free agency? That is yet to be known. If you bring in a Sam Darnold, you definitely at that point would want to draft Ted McMillan, who is the best wide receiver in this class, and he will be an instant day one starter, an ex-receiver, to really fill out his wide receiver options. He's going to have a fantastic time with Brock Bowers. Remember, we still got Michael Mayer as well. And if you have Ted McMillan at your X, you have Jacoby Myers in your slot, and you have Trey Tucker taking it over the top. Yes, I do believe that he could be pretty darn good. The other thing is that the Raiders need to do is they need to have a better running back core than what we have right now. And fortunately, this draft is loaded with running back backs that I think could all be day one starters. And so there's at least 7 or 8 running backs that will be available in the second round. So I say you go Tet McMillan and then you go and grab a running back. Third round, we have 2 picks. You're going to want to draft some guards. You want to beef up that offensive line. And if the Raiders do that, I think Sam Darnold could absolutely be very successful with the Raiders. However, he's going to be an unrestricted free agent unless they franchise tag him, which I doubt. They're going to go with J.J. McCarthy. But he's going to have other options out there. The Raiders are not the only game in town, but we have Tom Brady. That is kind of our secret weapon. If Tom Brady can recruit him to the Raiders, I think it is an upgrade just simply because he has more experience. He was a highly touted first-round draft pick, and I think Aiden O'Connell still needs some time to grow into becoming a better quarterback. Now, if you stick with Aiden O'Connell, okay, fine. You still want to do all of those other things I mentioned with Sam Darnold to help him be successful. But according to who I talked to, the Raiders are looking to upgrade the quarterback's position over Aiden O'Connell. That doesn't mean that Aiden O'Connell won't be the starter. It just means they're going to let go of Gardner Minshew, and they are looking to replace Gardner Minshew with a better quarterback, and that could be Sam Darnold. Drop your comments down below and let me know if you want to see Sam Darnold in the silver and black. Now let's talk about a couple of the other options out there at the free agency, and that's going to be a Justin Fields is going to be a free agent. It remains to see if the Pittsburgh will re-sign him. Also, Russell Wilson is going to be a free agent. So both of these guys are going to be on the market, and we don't know what Pittsburgh's going to do. Are they going to try and draft? Are they going to keep one of these guys? Let's just assume that both of them are out there, okay? I am not buying the Kool-Aid. I've said this a million times now. I am not buying the Kool-Aid of Pete Carroll, who is now our head coach, wanting to work with Russell Wilson again after Russell Wilson asked to have him fired. Sorry, my little cougar is just deciding to mess with my tripod here. So, making it difficult for me to make a video. But that's what happens when you adopt cats. So, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that at all, guys. I don't think Russell Wilson is a real thing. Even though, according to the people that I talked to, he is a possibility. We'll see if that actually happens. I'm not sure if it will. I don't like giving him $30 million a year. He's old now. And yes, he is a pretty decent quarterback, but he has always been a kind of a diva-esque type of quarterback that doesn't get along well with some of his teammates. And I'm just not going with that one. Justin Fields is also going to be available. So we're assuming that he'll be available. It's a possibility. Justin Fields did play a lot better in Pittsburgh than he has ever played in Chicago. Can you replicate that, and can you continue to grow him? Because he has a high upside if he can become a better quarterback because he is so athletic. So maybe you want to go and grab a Justin Fields. Well, that remains to be seen. I don't think that that is high on the Raiders' agenda because of the fact that he also has a lot of negatives that go along with him. So let me know if it's down to Russell Wilson or Justin Fields. Which one would you guys prefer? If there's no other choice, you have to pick one. Who is it? Drop a comment down below and let me know. If it's Justin Fields, drop a JF. If it's Russell Wilson, drop an RW. Let me know. All right, so that kind of wraps up where we're at with the free agency. Let's get into the draft a little bit. The Raiders could trade up. And if they trade up, it's going to be Shedeur. According to the people I talk about, Cam is not even a consideration. This was the issue with Tom Telesco and Mark Davis. Tom Telesco absolutely did not want Shedeur Sanders, according to the people that I talked to. And he wanted Cam Ward. And so because of this, it cost him his job. Because he was not willing to budge on it. He would not trade up for Shedeur Sanders. And Mark Davis was insisting that if we're going to get a quarterback, it has to be Shedeur Sanders. So now it's all Shedeur Sanders. That's it. If we draft in the first round, it will be Shedeur Sanders. If we trade up, it will be Shedeur Sanders. If you guys want to see Shedeur in the silver and black, let me know down there in the comments. I don't think that this is a great idea. Listen, Shedeur Sanders is a very accurate quarterback. He had over 72% accuracy in college. That's great. And he did play with a pretty bad offensive line who did get better this year or last year towards the end of the season. However, he is not exceptionally talented. He's not exceptionally athletic. He does not have an exceptional arm talent. He's just accurate, and he reads the field well. The other issue with him, though, is he has so much high praise for himself, and maybe that becomes an issue. Maybe he becomes a diva. And so I'm not sure that I'm sold on Shedeur Sanders. I've said this before. If he becomes a Raider, I'm going to support him, and I'm going to hope that he has the best career ever. But I'm not sold on him. This, to me, feels, kind of like the Kenny Pickett era type of a draft, and I'm just not seeing a lot of talent out there. However, I would like to see Cam Ward become a Raider. That's not going to happen, so we're not going to talk too much about it. We're not going to waste time. It's just not in the cards for the Raiders. However, there are a couple of other guys that have been, rising up in the draft boards, and that's Jackson Dart and Dillon Gabriel. Now, both of these guys are athletic. Both of these guys have really good arm talent. Both of these guys have had a lot of success in college. Jackson Dart is the more inconsistent one between the two. Dillon Gabriel is very consistent, very accurate. The only problem with Dillon Gabriel is he's like 5'10". And so that's going to be a hard sell going into the NFL. Doesn't mean he can't have success. Doug Flutie, if you guys remember who he is, he was like a super short quarterback with the Bills, and the dude was constantly in the playoffs. Didn't win a Super Bowl, but he was constantly in the playoffs. So it can be effective, and Dillon Gabriel did just ball out in the Senior Bowl, really showing out what he can do and why he should be in the consideration for any team in the first round to draft him. So at pick number 6, Dillon Gabriel quite likely will be available, and if he is, would you guys be okay with the Raiders drafting Dillon Gabriel out of Oregon at pick number 6? If you draft him at pick number 6, that is basically you're saying that we are absolutely desperate for a quarterback, and we don't want to risk losing him in the second round and not getting him. And I think it would be a reach to grab Dillon Gabriel at pick number 6, but times dictate times. And so, or times dictate results, sorry. And so I would say if the Raiders were to go out and get him at pick number 6, I'm not going to be super mad about it unless he doesn't pan out. If he doesn't pan out, if he ends up being a third string quarterback somewhere on some practice squad somewhere, I'm going to be super upset about it, because I think that at pick number 6, if you have guys like an Abdul Carter sitting there, if you have guys like Tet McMillan sitting there, if you have Ashton Genty sitting there, you've got to take the best player available. You have to. Do not, or you trade back and get some draft capital. You trade back to pick 13, 14, and you get some trade capital, some draft capital, and then you pick up Dillon Gabriel, because I don't think anybody's going to pick him high in the draft this year simply because of his stature. He's just a small guy. So it remains to be seen what's going to happen. But I'm going to be on it. I'll be reporting every single day for you guys, digging through all of the information I can possibly get and bugging my contacts with the Raiders to make sure that we get that inside scoop. So if you love this type of content, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button and the like button. And if you want to win a $1,000 prize giveaway that we are giving away with the Eberly stock bag stuffed full of goodies, make sure that you tune in for the Super Bowl live stream, and you head over to blackrainofficial.com. Link is down in the description. Sign up for our wonderful newsletter, and you will automatically be entered to win. We will announce the winner at some point during the Super Bowl live stream. Come and join us over there, and we'll see you in the next Raiders video.